The tipping thing is everywhere now, all kinds of places you wouldn't have expected it before. And I had somebody ask me one that prompted me to want to talk about this. They were picking up their car from service, and when they were paying, there was a line for them to tip the mechanic. Mechanics generally at an auto repair facility are working from an industry pricing guide. Historically, it was known as the book. And it sets out that for this kind of job, you should bill so many hours. And mechanics race against the book. The whole idea is to become experienced enough that you can do the work quicker than the book says. The guideline is probably all electronic now, but called the book. And so you're billed for 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever, even if the job is completed in a fraction of that time. And so mechanics, as they get experience and get better and better at doing a job, are making more money because they're billing at the industry rate, but they are doing far more billable hours a day than the hours they're actually working. So to tip an auto mechanic, that sounds weird to me, but it's no weirder than all the different places we're asked for tips. My wife was recently talking about she was at a retail store, and when she checked out, there was a line for a tip at the retail store at the cashier. And that sounded odd to me. The places we're seeing it the most, obviously, are in limited service or fast food in the restaurant sector. That's the most common. And so there are a lot of things now where the person who's ringing us up is also the person flipping the iPad around, and then right in front of them, it will say on it, and I saw the other day at a carryout place that the suggested tip levels were 20%, 25%, and first time I'd seen it, 30%. And I was like, wow. And then there are other places that if you're buying something that's a very small dollar item, it will suggest a tip of $1 or $2 or whatever instead of a percent. Because if you did percent, it would be so small that it would almost be an insult to tip. I mean, this is hard stuff. This has really happened so much in carry out and quick serve and stuff because it is a substitute for the employer paying a decent wage. And so you essentially are subsidizing the wages of that worker, not even knowing if you tip on that device, is it actually going to go to the worker at all, or is it just going to be pocketed by the employer? So this is very, very difficult. And one thing I've thought about is that if you do feel an intention to tip, that you do so with something that is an obscure thing from the Stone Age. It's called cash. That if you put cash in a tip jar, that a lot of places that will have the tablet, if you wish to leave a tip, leave it in cash, because then you have a much better chance that you can be confident it's actually going to go to the employee. And I'll give an example when I don't tip.
Okay.
I wonder if I'm going to sound
This
like
might
a
create a
horrible
Clark
person.
Stinks. Okay, what is it?
So let's say I go to a bagel shop and I don't have them do anything for me other than hand me a bagel. You know, I'm not having it prepped. I'm not having it toasted. I'm not buying butter or cream cheese. I'm just buying it like I'm buying a loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tip.
Okay.
On the other hand, if I order a bagel and my standard bagel order is a sesame bagel, double toasted with butter.
Yum.
So if I have them do all that, then I tip. So these are all the games we play in our heads. How do we decide when we tip, when we don't? But I love cash instead of the iPad. Not that I have anything against iPads. They're a great device. But that's a black hole. And who knows where that money goes? Now, how do you deal with all
I usually
the tipping?
just tip because I feel so bad when they turn it around. And there's some people I tip through Venmo, though, so I know that they get it because I don't really carry a lot of cash. And I do use Venmo with a separate banking account that's not attached.
You don't have to justify
I
to
know.
me. I see you looking at me like
I mean, I'm in
I'm
the
doing it okay.
confessional, yeah. So it's tough. I mean, it's when someone's right in front of you too, but you feel like you really haven't gotten a lot of service. They're just handing you things. It's just, I don't know. It's frustrating, but I don't also want to be the person, and I'm sure for you, if they recognize you too, you're like, you don't want, they're like, you don't want them like, go Clark Howard, that guy doesn't tip anything,
Remember what I said about my haircut?
Yeah.
So if you didn't hear that on a prior podcast, I get my haircut for $16. And I know we had several people complain the last time, how could I spend that much to get my haircut? Anyway, that's what it costs. I go to one of the chains. That's what it is. So I was tipping $3 when I got my haircut. And a guy next to me said, I can't believe you're tipping that little. You realize how little money he's making from cutting your hair? You need to tip at least $8 to have your hair cut.
Wow, 50%.
And so I have stepped it up, and next time I got my hair cut, and I told the guy who cuts my hair, I said, why I'm tipping so much more. And he said, I didn't put him up to it.
Oh, my gosh.
He said, I'm really glad he told you that.
Oh, man. All right.
How
Yeah.
much should I tip for a haircut?
I can't tell you. I mean, I always tip 20% for my haircuts, but they don't cost $16, so I don't know what to say about that. I'd probably at least round it up to 20, but maybe a little more. I don't know. Again, like, shouldn't the places be paying their employees the right amount of money, and then maybe your cost for your haircut goes up? I don't understand why we can't just have a system like that.
Well, but the marketplace makes that a $16 haircut. And then, another place may be, as somebody told me recently, why am I paying that when they get their haircut for $5?
Okay.